just as crazy and I don't know what to do. So I made a podcast for me and for you. Pizza sauce and diggly digs, everybody loves a digs. Japanese girls and 80s flicks, rock and roll like Stevie Nicks. Mafia humors, elder rules, telling you what's wrong with school. Bruno James and Dan Marino, talking shit on people we know. Hockey fights and cracking beers, living life without no fear. Oh, my brain, what's inside? I don't know what to write.
Like weird Japanese shit.
Turtles and Hot Pockets. If you don't like those, I don't want to be friends.
Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm Matt Manny. So I've been thinking about what makes me happy lately. I've been thinking about a lot of things, but specifically what makes me happy, and not in a sense of like, what am I doing with my life? Just what things make me happy. The reason I've been thinking about this is because unfortunately my mother passed away last week after a 2-year battle with cancer. So, I feel this weird thing of, I'm a creative person. You call me an artist, whatever you want to call me. Or whatever I call myself. But when anything happens, a breakup or, someone, passes on, whatever it might be, or just any hard situation, you lose a job, whatever it is, you feel this need to use that as fuel. And what I mean is I don't feel that need, but I feel this compulsion of like something happens as a creative person. You're supposed to take this stuff and internalize it and you create with it and you push something out. And that's where the good stuff comes from. That's where the good work artists, it comes from tragedy or, that's debatable. A lot of people say the best art comes from happiness, actually, whatever, Van Gogh or any of these artists or music, Nirvana, whatever. It's coming from these darker places or these places of truth, really, I guess is what it is. It could be happy truth or sad truth. But I've been battling with this like compulsion that I'm supposed to use this stuff, but that's just not what I feel right now. I just don't have that in me. Sure, I sit in a room and turn the lights down low and just drink whiskey and engage with this stuff. But I could, but it doesn't feel true right now. It doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel like something it's not coming naturally. I'd be forcing it just like I'd be forcing it if it was the summertime and I'm trying to write a story about the Arctic or something and I'm getting myself, it just doesn't want to happen. It's just not how I feel. It might never come, or it might come in a month or next week or 3 months from now. I don't know, but I've learned enough at least to not force it when it's not there. And I really don't think it's something where I'm avoiding. It's just not what I'm feeling. What I have been feeling is just thinking about things that make me happy. And I really kind of got down to, this isn't the only thing that makes me happy. There's tons of things in life, but one of them specifically, I guess just an experience that I truly cherish and really maybe have never thought about as much, is that to me, happiness is a hole in the wall. So just finding a bar or a cafe or a restaurant, it doesn't have to be the idea of a dump, a hole in the wall, but just finding a small little cozy place and just allowing myself to fully embrace that time spent there. So I don't want to say escape, because that's something I've come to. I think a lot of people think when you go into a bar, or specifically a bar, but in a lot of the world, a cafe kind of operates as a bar. You can order drinks and cocktails and beers, whatever. I feel like people assume that it's, escape. You're disappearing into the bottom of a bottle, or you're just disappearing into the bottom of your glass. But I don't want to use that word, because really I've come to, there's a whole other aspect of this idea that I've really been thinking about, is that I'm not escaping or running from something. I'm actually approaching something else, and not in the sense that I need to get away from this to approach this other thing. I can still live with that. I can still have my life and my problems and whatever, all the things going on in my head. But what I'm doing there is really trying to approach this other thing, which I guess it just comes down to awareness, or just being present in the moment and enjoying all of the world around me with all of my senses. And what ties into that is the other idea that for me, going and sitting in one of these places is just an allowance to myself that so much of life is running around, whatever. You got a food shop, you got to get that bus, you got to get that train, get that subway, you got to get the kids here, you got to get to this dentist appointment, you got to run, you got to make dinner, can't spend too much time on that. You got to get this work done. You got to get to, it's just this, the treadmill of life, and we're constantly running around. And if you're somebody like me, even once I do get some downtime, I basically beat myself up over using it inefficiently or using it poorly or just judging myself on how I use it. Like, I'm trying to get better at that. Like, for example, today I made lunch and I was like, God, look how much time you spent making lunch, you idiot. It's already, God, look how long that took. Look what time it is already. But instead I tried to just stop myself for a second, go, wait a minute, dude, why don't you just go look at what you made? You made something good, man. Like you did a good job today. You made a good lunch. You learned a couple of things. My chopping skills were a little bit faster today, a little bit cleaner. I was a little bit more efficient with the whole process, but also I was enjoying it more. I'm trying to use the new cutting technique. Like, focus on those things instead of, oh my God, look at the time you wasted. Like, was it really wasted? I enjoyed making that meal. So instead of beating myself up over it and detracting from what it really was, just allowing myself to enjoy the time that I spent doing that while I'm doing it and after. So I think for me, a hole in this idea that happiness is a hole in the wall is really that allowance of just taking a chunk of my time and just allowing myself to enjoy it for exactly what it is. It's not wasted. It's not, it doesn't have to be productive, or don't analyze the time. Just that time is there. And yes, of course, the drinking helps. You know what I mean? Obviously, drinking, drugs, whatever, allow you to shut certain parts of your brain off or approach other things, but that isn't what the focus is. And for me, it's definitely not what the happiness comes. If anything, that's some of the part that becomes the unhappiness. To look back and you're like, God, I was an idiot, or I was a fool, or I drank too much, or I feel like shit, it's not good for my diet. But the actual experiential part of enjoying it all with my senses truly does bring me happiness. And I have to come to the terms with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's really, if it makes me happy, so what? And not even so what. I think it's a great thing, because what I look at is, it's like when the pint glass comes, the shape of the glass is beautiful. The light reflecting off the rim of the glass, just the full pint and the color of it, that amber color and the head on it, the bubbles, the whole, and the promise of that pint. Like I that anticipation of joy. I'm going to just enjoy drinking that and getting another one. It's just lovely. And the wood and the lighting in the place being exactly right, whether it's dim or bright and bustling. The smells, sometimes it has like that stale beer smell. Even that's kind of enjoyable. Or it might smell like grease from the kitchen or something, or smoke. If you're in certain parts of Asia, you can still smoke. They have freedom still. Not that I smoke, but there's sometimes it's a nice thing atmospherically. The rabble, the noise, the clanging, the kitchen, the people behind the bar, the talking, just all of that. And it's not just that environment itself that's kind of safe and fun. It's allowing myself kind of to just melt into that present moment and take all of that stuff in. Really, truly brings me happiness. And maybe there's nothing else for me that can do it like that, because there is some mechanism with, I know there's that book, that dude that was on Rogan about, alcohol in society and how it's a tool that we use. For me personally, it's kind of an allowance thing. It's a clear-cut, distinct, concrete thing that says you can shut off here. You can put this stuff aside. It's an allowance to stop and smell the roses, stop and taste the pint, if you will. And for me, it really allows me to just approach this place where the more I'm there, I can stop and sit and just watch the world. It's people watching, but in a closed environment. It's like this microcosm for all of life. And for me, it really, truly does bring a sense of happiness. And I talked about it a little bit last time, but it's this idea of like, even when we're supposed to have free time, something like traveling is supposed to be it's a pure, free, enjoyable time. Even that we fill with stuff. It's like, you got to go to this museum. We got to be there at this time for this tour. We got to go see this thing. We got to get a picture at that. We got to see this historical site. We have dinner reservations at this famous place. We got to go here. There's so much running around that even the thing in our life that's supposed to be an enjoyable, kind of carefree, pulling ourselves out of routine. It always blows my mind that as soon as people leave routine, they go somewhere else for a trip and they immediately structure out and build a routine. It's like you're just replacing, which there's positives to that. Obviously, you want to see the most with limited amount of time and the amount of money that you spent. Obviously, you want to get the most out of it. But it's just always odd to me that, like, as much as we're like, we got to escape, as soon as we escape, we just attach ourselves to those same things. You know, we're products of routine and kind of really latch on to routine. But I find when traveling and taking these trips, it's some of the best times to do this. Allow yourself to just, I don't want to use the words escape or waste, but it really allow yourself to waste like a good afternoon, just sitting somewhere and just order some drinks and just watch life unfold around you in this city that you don't know, running around, hustling, bustling. You're going to see some of it, but you're going to see it from a perspective, like you're not seeing it from the perspective of somebody living there, because your whole schedule is totally different than somebody getting up, going, grabbing food on the street, going to work. Where are they getting lunch? What are they doing? You know, getting out of work, taking the subway home. You know, your schedule usually doesn't align with that. Nor should it. You know, you don't exactly want to jump into somebody else's life, because then also you'll find most people's lives are pretty much the same everywhere. Obviously, there's differences in terms of transportation and cities and food, culture, but we're doing the same shit. You get up, you got to get the kids to school, you got to go to work, whatever. So allow yourself time. And, you know, I'm not saying you, I'm talking to myself here. Allow yourself an afternoon or a night to just waste. I'd say the afternoon is the best. Well, what I typically would do is, you know, get up, go out, try to do things, get some things done. But like by 3:00, there's only so much you can do. And that twilight hour of like, golden hour, start having drinks and watch that transition of day to night, that magical moment of the city transforming. And some people's day is ending, and maybe the chefs and cooks, their day is beginning, and other people, you know, the taxi drivers, and things come to life. There's that beautiful transition period. It's like my favorite time of day to just get into a bar, because you have the afternoon people who might have been sitting there and watching some sports that's specifically in foreign countries. My reference point is Asia. Specifically in Asia, you have people watching things that are on like a 12 or 8 hour time difference. So there's people that are watching, you know, rugby and soccer, whatever sports at weird times. And you have those people and you can chit chat with them. But then as night comes on, you have people getting out of work, and you just get a real sense of, you know, then you stay out later and you see like, you know, younger people who don't give a shit if they get sleep, and they're staying out. Then you hit up a street market, and like all of that makes me so happy of just sitting and observing life taking place. Like that's truly what I get more happiness from than many things in life. And I'm not saying, you know, my relationships with people or making music or making art, all these things, you know, fulfill me in different ways, but something I can always just come back to. You know, you can do this, people watch at a park or at an amusement park or whatever. But to me, that environment of people, whether they know it or not, other people coming and shutting off that place and just allowing themselves to have a time where they can just sit and they don't have to think about that shit from work or family or home or whatever's going on in their head. They can just escape it for a minute. And maybe you have a chance interaction with somebody or strike up a stupid conversation, or maybe you just sit there. I like taking a copybook or, you know, sketching it or writing and just listening to some music or whatever it is. There's something, you know, I don't want to say sacred, but there really is something special about that and observing life in that way. That's like nothing else. And, you know, if you don't drink, that's fine. Whatever. Go and get a tea or something. Get a call. Like I said, cafe. There's some great cafes in like these little alleys. And I don't want to say the smaller, cozier, the better. But there is something intimate and specific about these places that you find in Asia. I'm sure there's awesome pubs. I haven't gotten a chance to go to London or England yet in general. I'd love to someday. I'm excited for that. In every corner of the world, I'm sure there's just these awesome little places, whether it's a big city, a smaller city. But there is something special in Asia about these holes in the wall that you find. They're really, I feel like, crafted this because space is at a minimum. So they've had to use it in novel and interesting ways, and also ways where they create a whole world. And I think they think about this stuff a little bit more, whether it's feng shui or there's a lot of Japanese ideas of using simplicity and creating an entire environment. There's specifically Tokyo. I guess Osaka has a lot of them. Kyoto has some beautiful ones. Those are the cities I've been to, but they are renowned for some of these areas. In Tokyo, there's one area called Piss Alley. It's in Shinjuku. Where is that? But, there's a lot of these izakaya, which izakaya is like the Japanese version of like a British pub or an Irish pub. It's just a place to get cheap food and beer and whatnot and just hang out with people after work. There's all sorts of different ones though. I mean, there's this kind of one. Some of the ones in Kyoto are awesome where like you go in and then where you sit goes down, like your feet go down into the floor almost. You have to step down into your seat. Then the bar comes up in front of you. Gorgeous, just warm, cozy places with just delicious food, little fried things on sticks and deep fried. I feel like this is like Piss Alley. There's places like this are like Piss Alley. There's another famous place in Tokyo called Golden Guy, which I spent. Each one's like its own little world, its own little bar. You see, it's just this alley filled with bar. It's multiple alleys. It's this whole little section of the neighborhood. Here's a good shot from above. You can see. Now that's a shit picture. Here you go. That's not bad. You can see here. Oh, it goes from night to day. They're like these 2-3 story little shacks, really, but tiny alleys, and each one's like a little bar. Might only fit 6 people. Some of them only fit like 4 or 5 people. You cram in there. Some of them are larger. The ones like on the corner, they have like karaoke and stuff. Then there's upstairs ones. They might offer a couple of things of food, but it's a lot of just like snacks and beer. It's truly, an amazing little experience. Let's see. Here's a good picture too. I hate when I just want the picture larger. I don't want to. There you go. It's a good picture. You see, these are all just, there's like hundreds of little bars. And then on the outskirts of this, there's a lot of like yakitori joints, little chicken, like yakitori grill near Golden Guy. Let's see what comes up. And these places are a little different where it has like coal fired, like let's say it's an L shape and you can sit at the bar. And then like above your head is a coal fired grill. Here you go. This girl. Coal-fired grill, and they're just putting snacks and stuff on there. And you sit there, it's just ordering little sticks of chicken. And this is like more of a high-end one. This one's like just jammed in there and like one of those little alley bars, like I said, usually like coal-fired. And, you just order up snacks and you eat them as they come. And you get more, you get beers. It's just a beautiful experience. Oh, this one's cool. You sit out on the street like this. This is Piss Alley, I believe, from the leaves and the seats out here, because there's so little room there that I wish you could just enlarge. I can double click on it, but you can see, and as you walk by these, it's great. You look in, people are laughing, there's smoke, and just each one's its own little universe. It's just nothing better than that. And I think that's one of the reasons I really love Asia in general. Again, I haven't been all around the world. I'd like to be, but from what I've experienced, I love. These are all garbage. The Ramja, everything's like just a hole in the wall. And that's the beauty of with like the ramen shops there. You go into this little, it only seats like 7-8 people. It's cozy. It's nice. And then you order. And you put your money in a machine and then you just click on what you want and a ticket comes out. You just give them the ticket and you just sit and wait. You get a little ticket for beer. You go, here's my beer. And the beer comes out in a frozen ice cold glass. And you just sit there and hang out. And then you want more food, you go to the little thing. You don't have to wait for a waiter or waitress or none of that shit. There's no tipping. These are all beside the point. But it's just beautiful to hang out in these little environments, these cozy little corners. And I just love that you can always get a nice beer and it's delicious. Oh, all right. I wasn't going to drink today, but there's a very good chance I'm going to have some drinks later with dinner. But izakaya. And it doesn't have to be a Japanese place or an Asian place or whatever. These are just the ones that are on top of my head. There's some beautiful pubs in Philadelphia, in New York. I've been to there's a lot of great izakayas and just Irish bars or whatever. In New York, I'm just not a big fan of the prices. $10, $12 for a Guinness. I mean, come on. That's why a lot of times I just go to convenience stores and buy the old konbini beer. Convenience stores in Japan are called konbini. And that's where I first started buying convenience store beers. A lot of places in the U.S. have them too. But it's great. You just grab one of those and go out on the street, have a cheap beer or two, and then you go back in the bar and pay for one and sip that one. It's a lovely experience. Where else I was going to look up? See, I have friends from living in Shanghai. I have a lot of buddies from like London or the London area. And they tell me, there's these bars are like a few hundred years old. And they have like these old beautiful brass taps and like just some beautiful ales you can get and stuff. I'd love to go to those places, but I almost want to go with my buddies so they can show me some cool places, which I look forward to eventually. When they head home, I can maybe visit them there. I want to I guess that's where I'm at too, is like things that make me happy is like just things that get me excited again. I really want to go to a Premier League game. And I'm trying to watch these travel shows on YouTube or these travel channels that people have. And some of it's like really the extreme stuff. This dude goes to like the coldest place on earth in Siberia. What the hell is that called? Coldest city on earth in Siberia. Oymyakon, Russia, average minus 50. I guess that's it. I don't remember that's what it was called, but Yakutsk, that's it. Is a 2-day drive from, no, I think this was it. Yakutsk was the one in this video. Either way, this is a wild place. And I've definitely seen like videos on like Instagram and stuff where people throw water out the window and it freezes instantaneously. But it's insane. These places are freezing cold and it's like, there's like 300,000 people that live there. This says city in Russia. I thought it's technically, well, I guess it is part of Russia, but it's like Siberia. That's great. You hover over it and it's just a picture of a woolly mammoth comes up. It's like, yeah, it's pretty much what's going on. Apparently it's only like 260 miles from the North Pole or some shit. It's insane. But yeah, Yakutsk. If you look this place up, it's nutty. They got to like keep their cars running all the time because if they turn them off within 20 minutes, the oil freezes and then you just can't get them started until the next season. Like the winter is like 8 months there. So you might be waiting 6, 7, 8 months. The place is nuts though. And it's like, do I want to go to these types of places? Maybe I am interested obviously in going to these types of places and experiencing new things. But I just want to get out and do cool stuff. I've honestly been feeling tropical more because it's the middle of January and I'm sick of it. But, just trying to focus on things that make me happy and get me excited. And I realize, the hole in the wall bars really, truly do. And I miss it, of all the things over COVID and all the stuff going on with my mom. I thought I didn't miss a lot of things, especially because of the pricing. I have this big thing about pricing that Shanghai really taught me, that the value. What am I getting for my money? And a lot of times I was getting shit. I was paying New York prices and getting like Arkansas quality. And that's, not fair to Arkansas, especially in terms of like probably barbecue and stuff. But, I'm not getting fine dining or really good shit for what I'm paying. So, I get fed up with that. And I realize I don't care much about things that I'm missing out on because I can do most of them better at home. I've learned to cook much better. I've learned to eat healthier because I'm cooking. Not always, but I got a fry cutter, so I ain't eating that healthy. But I've just learned that I wasn't missing much. A lot of it was just nonsense, that I was actually searching for something. Like there was a lot of times in Shanghai where I was bored and I didn't know what to do. So I'd go out, ride around on my scooter. And then I was like searching for something. Inevitably, I'd try to fill that searching with like spending money on something, whether it was some food or beer or whatever. And I just kind of feel like it didn't really do it. It didn't do much for me. So I didn't think I missed a lot of things, but I have been realizing it's more the sensory inputs of the world and allowing myself to just sit in an environment and take it in and kind of just melt and mold into it. That's really, I guess, what I miss more than anything else. Still looking at this place is wild. Crazy shit. Yeah, they don't need freezers. They put their food like outside their windows and shit. It just freezes. They're selling frozen fish on the street. Yakutsk or whatever. That's wild. The thing is, you can go to these extreme places other than the flight. It probably doesn't cost you much because, they're not these massive destinations where it's going to cost you a lot of money. Well, you got to probably buy clothing and shit. You got to buy like fur and stuff just to survive. But anyway, that's one of the major things that makes me happy. And I don't know. I'm trying to just investigate. I guess I'm paralleling that with what I'm cooking. I'm trying to cook the types of things that I'd get in these places. That way I bring a little bit into my house. Then also I appreciate it more when I finally do get to go to these places. I realize, the amount of work that it goes into making this stuff quality and making it done right. And, just how beautiful that whole human process is. Somebody putting work into what I'm ordering and enjoying. So that's one way I guess I'm trying to engage with this stuff is just cooking and having a couple of beers. But anyway, I don't know about you guys or other people. I'd love to kind of hear these small things that maybe we brush aside in life that we think, it's trivial or that's a bad habit almost. Oh, you go to spend your life in a bar. But I don't, it's all about perspective and how you take that perspective. Bourdain showed obviously a good angle on this whole thing. And it's where a lot of real life is captured. Again, you think we're trying to run from or escape, but like so much of life is kind of doctored and fabricated and it's structured and you got to live a certain way and you got to act a certain way and all this stuff. And it's like, it's the bar, especially again, I know I'm coming back to Japanese society. That's where a lot of these people let loose because it's culturally appropriate. You can do all sorts of ridiculous shit. You go there, people pass out in bushes wearing like expensive ass suits and get hammered, like shit faced hammered, like it's literally sleeping face down on the concrete on the sidewalk in the middle of a downtown area. And it's, I'm not saying whether that's good or bad socially or for your health or whatever, but it's a thing that it's like that switch. It's like you got to be so rigid in the rest of your business life and your private life and all this shit. Then when you go to these places, that's more accurate to real life in a sense that people are letting themselves go, this hedonistic acceptance of this is really what we are. We want to eat, we want to drink, we want to fuck, we want to laugh, we want to, cry, we want to just let our whole being express itself. And, so much of society doesn't let us do that. So again, that's another aspect of this pub. Doesn't have to be a negative thing. There's purity in it in a weird sense. But either way, that's enough of this shit for today. I'll see you next time.
Rock and roll, baby.
I gotta get a Sambo. Here's the thing.
Yeah, man, come on. Yeah.
Everyone thinks not doing shit's easy, but it's not. Fucking
I'm
like.
gonna get weird, go paint some stuff.
That's enough of this bullshit for one day.
Sometimes you just gotta slam them fuckers. Oh, sure.